Today, I have the privilege of talking to Ashley Whaley. She is the co-founder of Podshark Media, a nationwide marketing agency specializing in social media management, brand photo and video, and podcast production. She's a business owner for nearly 2 decades. Ashley is passionate about helping entrepreneurs grow by deeply understanding their business and their goals. Connection and clear communication are at the core of her work. She lives in Gilbert, Arizona with her husband, Avery, and their 2 daughters, Macy and London. Please help me welcome Ashley to the show. So welcome, Ashley. Thank you so much for taking your time out to talk to me.
Thank you, Jen, for having me. I'm so pumped for our conversation.
Yeah, I've been following you for a couple years. I would highly recommend anybody watching to follow Ashley Whaley. And she is you do so many different things that are amazing. But the reason why I reached out to you today was you shared a post, and it was basically like a 2025 summary post last year. And it was all about recent connection moments that meant so much to you. And I just wanted to ask you, why do you think connection feels so powerful right now?
I think there's a couple reasons why, and especially for us as business owners, connection is really at the heart of everything that I do. And I feel like the space that we're in with the internet, right? The with social media and just how we can really feel like we are getting to know somebody through Instagram, for example. Instagram is by far my favorite platform,
Me too.
but to be able to take those conversations that are happening online and then to be able to take them and have a conversation offline or in person is just really where that sweet spot of connection happens. So, my word for the year actually for 2025 was connection. And we were living in Oregon. We lived in Oregon for just over a decade. And then we moved to Gilbert, Arizona in the spring of 2025. And so I was very intentional with making sure that I was getting connected with the right people down here, all while maintaining my relationships and my connections in the Portland metro. So connection was huge. And I feel like those right people that maybe were missing out on it a little bit through just all the changes that we've gone through as a society, right? From 2020 to where we're at now. I think people really crave that real, authentic, deep conversation that happens through connection. And it's something that is so powerful when you can really embrace it. And something that is also, it's a learned skill, right? Finding that connection point is something that is learned. It's not necessarily, I don't think people just wake up and instantly become like a super great connector. I think it does take really honing in on who you are as a person and focusing on the personal development aspects of your life. Because if you want to connect with those right people, you want to find those people that share those similar values and beliefs and are really going after those similar goals in life. And when you can ask those questions, that's where that connection piece happens.
I agree. I mean, I found these little connection cards, and they're more than like you would just talk about at small talk, because I don't know about you, but like small talk is not super easy, especially if you're in a room full of, at an event where you do want to make some connections, but you don't know anyone yet. And you have to like pick one up and go talk to somebody and ask them the question on the card. And it is like opens this whole new world up for like, more than just, oh, I love your shoes or, whatever it is. But you're like asking something from a person that is deep, and you instantly are like, oh my gosh, like you can see a little piece into who they are. And it's just so much more meaningful, I feel like.
I think people are craving that deeper connection. I am an avid podcast listener, and one of the main takeaways from a podcast I was listening to probably about a month or so ago was the idea of going deep versus going wide. And I think in the world that we live in right now, especially with the power of social media, for so long, people were really focusing on the amount of followers and the virality of things and the numbers, right? But instead of looking at how wide can I cast my net, look at how deep you can go in those connections that you already have with those people that you've already established a relationship with and take it deeper. I think people are wanting to go deeper now more than ever too, because of again, just the world that we live in. There's more of a conversation around healthy living and healthy lifestyle and what you really want to do to make the most out of your life. And using that as a conversation starter almost to really figure out, what makes this person do what they do? Why are they on the path that they're on? It makes it way more fun and you can get to know if the vibe is right, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes you're going to have conversations with people where it's not. The connection is off. There's something that you just aren't on the same
Yeah.
path. And that's okay. There's an art to finding connection, and so much of it is through deep conversation and asking those questions. So I love that you have connection cards at your gatherings because it is a way for people to break the ice where maybe they don't know those right questions to ask.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason that I thought of it is because I know I'm not good at small talk. And so it was kind of like something that helped me out. And that's why your post was resonated with me so much because I was like, I'm going to find out how does she do this because it's not something that comes easily. So, for so many women I work with, they feel lonely, even though they're surrounded by people. It's not because they lack people. What's the difference between being surrounded by a lot of people and feeling truly connected to the people that you're surrounded by?
That's a really good question. And I think that that's so true, especially when you do get in a room full of other women, other business owners, whether it's an open networking group or an intentional space that maybe you have invested money to be there. It can sometimes feel a little intimidating, right? Where you're almost in, like, we can get inside our head and be so focused on what what am I doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus how can I show up and have a conversation and be that light, be that energy? That's something that I think I will always be working on because it's in our human nature to focus on ourselves and how we're being portrayed instead of looking at, okay, how can I add value to this room? How can I be that encourager? How can I be that light? How can I show up as my authentic self and build a friendship? And I know that authentic and authenticity, and it's kind of one of those words that's really, it can be overused. And somebody who, such as myself, as I live a very positive life, I do my very best to surround myself with positive people. And I have been questioned of, is that really how you are? People will sometimes take my positivity, the way that I show up, my energy as almost a front. And it's been brought up to me many, many times throughout my whole life. And I could take that as, oh my gosh, that's kind of hard, right? It's kind of hard to hear. But then I
Yeah.
go, well, that's too bad, right? That somebody might think that way because it's just really who I am. And so for those of us that maybe are feeling a little bit like they need to almost shelter the way that they naturally are, or hold themselves back, or feel maybe shy or intimidated by a room, just lean into your God-given gifts, right? Connection is definitely a gift that I was given. My mom will attest to that. She said, as a child, I was always a social butterfly. I was always somebody that had a lot of friends. So maybe that was you as a kid, and now as an adult, it's way harder for you to make friendships. So maybe you need to kind of go back to that childlike spirit and remember who you were as a kid. Maybe you played sports. What did that look like? What did it look like to, strike up conversations with your teammates? Or maybe you were in dance. What did that look like to have good conversation with your friends? It doesn't need to be overcomplicated, but you just have to continue to be true to who you are, and those right people will come into your fold, and those people that aren't right, they will exit. And it's for somebody who really loves people, it's always hard
Yeah.
when somebody doesn't like you, right?
I know. Yeah.
Or they don't get it, or they don't support you, or they unsubscribe, or they unfollow, or it's just,
Yeah.
again, that world that we live in. And so it's learning how to let that go and
Mhm.
not let it just dim your light, because you're in control of how you feel and how you receive. And it's it's just it's human nature to want everybody to feel loved, especially as somebody who, well, there's so many different personality tests and how we feel love and love languages and all those things. But you know yourself better than anybody else does.
Yeah.
So you just have to be true to yourself. So that would be my encouragement for somebody who's feeling a little just uncertain or a little alone in a room full of other people. My encouragement would be take your eyes off yourself and go find that other person who maybe is standing alone, or who maybe is, you can tell maybe they feel a little bit uncomfortable too, and strike up a conversation. And it can start with a compliment. It can start with, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I love your sweater," or, "Oh my gosh, I love your shoes," or even, "Oh my gosh, are you feeling a little uncomfortable here too? I don't know anybody."
Yeah.
Call it like it is.
Yeah, for sure. I love so much of what you just said because I've also had women tell me they feel like they're too much and they have to pull back because they want to be accepted or they don't want to be whatever. And it's nice to see though that women are starting to embrace that. They're like, well, I'm going to be who I am, and if I'm too much for you, well, I'm sorry, but this is who I am. And I feel like there is something with age that, because
Mhm.
like my market is women 50 plus, I feel like there's something about women. I know you're not that old, but when you get to a certain point and you're just like, no, I'm done with that. you
Yeah,
just you just like let it go. I So that really resonated with me, and I love the reframe that you used about just thinking back to different times in your life when we've all had different seasons and you have to go through different things, and to remember back to what that was like and just get those skills going again is really good advice for any woman who is listening, because that actually leads right into my next question is, what about a woman who's listening and she says, I don't have a big circle and I don't know where to start? Where are some of those places that you go to meet these people that you connect with? Because I think a lot of people don't know, where do I even go?
definitely. Yes, there is so many great networking groups. There's so many great women's groups. There's so many great just opportunities for connection in the world that we live in today. Like you said, people are craving connection more so now than ever before. And they're wanting to find those right people that they can build a relationship with, that they can feel comfortable and confident having those deeper conversations with. And so, being that I lived in Portland for so long, for a decade plus, I had built a very strong network there. And then moving to Arizona, one of my main goals was to find a strong circle right out the gate, because I knew the power of connection. I knew the power of surrounding yourself with the right people just makes all the world of difference for your mental state, your health, your well-being, your quality of life, your feeling of security and belonging. Having good people in your back pocket is so key. So before we left Oregon, I had found this women's group where I had just I had been looking for something like this for a long time. It's called We Elevate. I'm sure you've probably heard of them, maybe not.
Hmm.
They were this group of women that just kind of came from really nothing. It started with just this group chat on Instagram, and then it grew into something just really powerful to what it is today. It's grown really, really fast and furious. But I'd found this group of women. They were kind, they were ambitious, they were rooted in their faith, which wasn't like a mandatory part of being a part of this group, but there was this underlying faith component that I hadn't found. I found that a lot of through conversation, a lot of these women had a faith and something that's very important to me in my life. And I think that sometimes those conversations just go a little bit differently when you share that sort of a similar value. And so I joined this group and my business just grew. It was crazy how much business had grown through being a part of of those relationships. And again, like having relationship was at the forefront. It wasn't, hey, let me help you with your social media. Hey, let me do your photos and video. It was, how can I support your business? I just started supporting all of their businesses because they were so cool and unique and great at what they did. And then it just kind of snowballed into this really cool community and just way of growing organically. But from that, when we moved to Oregon, or when we moved from Oregon to Arizona, I was very strategic in the fact that I really wanted to find a similar group to what we was in Arizona. So, like I do for so many things, because Instagram and social media is the world that I live in, I went to Instagram and I just started searching hashtags. I did a hashtag. So now hashtags are limited now to five per post. I'm sure you probably saw that. The world of Instagram is always changing. I still love
Yeah.
hashtags. It's still how I search. It's a great SEO way for SEO. But I went to, yeah, I did a hashtag search and I think it was hashtag Arizona women in business or hashtag Arizona business women or something of that nature. And I ended up finding this gal. Her name's Tara Dunn. And I actually just shared her. I was on her YouTube channel and we had a great call and connection. And I just posted that on my Facebook. You have to go back and take a look at it.
I
But
will.
very kind of similar scenario to what we're talking about here. And so I found her. She was a brand photographer, and but she had also started this group called Connect Belong. And then she was also doing a mastermind. So she's a brand photographer, a business coach, and then she was going to be running this mastermind called Abundance. And so I started digging into her profile. I was like, oh, she looks like somebody I could be friends with. She looks like somebody who I want to get to know. And then I kind of saw all of the connections that she had. And then she had Connect Belong. And then I looked at Connect Belong and the quality of the posts that she was doing. This was strictly from Instagram. I hadn't attended one of her events yet, but it just made me go, yes, these women are women that I want to get connected with that shared that similar vibe to the women that I had gotten connected with in Oregon. So, for those women who are feeling like they don't know where to begin, they don't know where to start looking at people's Instagram profiles. Start a conversation, drop into their DMs. So that's what I did to Tara. I said, hey, Tara, I just found you on Instagram. I really love everything that you're all about. I would love to learn more about Connect Belong. And then she invited me she does in person events at her house once a month. So, which is incredible to open up your home to this. I mean, the group has grown so much. It's a massive amount, probably 50 plus people that are showing up there on a monthly basis. And then now she has just launched an online platform. But through that, I have built friendships and had coffee and gone on hikes and out to dinner and to different yoga retreats and events and sound bath meditations and, all the things that we as healthy women want to do. So, and then I'm very, again, for women who want to find that circle, just know what you're looking for, right? Know what you want in whether it's a group, a friend, a mentor, like be really rooted in who you are and who you want to surround yourself with, because it's just like back in school, right? When I have
Mhm.
two kids, so I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, two girls, and they're both in that kind of phase of like building those strong friendships, and just so many memories from when I was a kid are showing up with what they have going on. And so it's just like when you were a kid, if you surround yourself with the wrong people, you're going to wind up not where you're headed, right? So
Yeah.
making sure that whoever you are choosing to add into your fold, they're in line with the way that you want to live, right? So that would be my advice. Start with Instagram, and then don't be afraid to reach out. Put yourself out there. Say, "Hey, I saw this event. How do I get involved?" Or, "Hey, I it looks like you've got a really great business. I'm just getting started. Would you be up for grabbing a cup of coffee? I'd love to learn more about your business, how I can support you." Or, "Hey, I'd love to jump on a Zoom. Would you be up for jumping on a Zoom? I'd love to learn more about what you have going on. I feel like I have a lot of people in my network who I could share your services with," things of that nature. Because I'm a business owner, I've always connected with other business owners. When I first got down to Arizona, Tara, she was participating in this event put on Bar 3, where there was all these different health and wellness participants. And I went by myself. I brought my yoga mat. We did yoga in the lawn. I didn't know anybody. I mean, I had just met Tara. I didn't know her. We just had a conversation through Instagram. And then she had a friend there whose name was Christy. And I just introduced myself. I said, "Hi, my name's Ashley." Tara said I should come and introduce myself. So you have to be willing to put yourself out there too. If
Yeah.
that is something that you really want out of life, if building those friendships and relationships and connection, if that's something that your heart really desires and you know that you want to have that be in your life, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And sometimes I've put myself out there before to different people, and sometimes it's not received.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I always look at it as rejection is God's protection.
Yeah.
So that's just having that mindset of, okay, I'm going to put myself out there until I find my people. And
Yep.
then you will.
Yeah.
And yes, it does. It comes with age. As we get older, we just recognize that there's no time for drama. There's no
Yeah.
time for unnecessary drama. And I just, you know what you need. You know what your soul needs and craves. And when you leave a conversation feeling really energized and good, and then when you leave a conversation going, "Whoa, something was off,"
Yeah. I
and
know.
you have to trust that.
Yeah. And, I will point back to what you said about the DMs. I have found as well that when you DM somebody, of course, you're not going to get a response from Mel Robbins. So don't try to DM Mel Robbins. But I guarantee if somebody listening to this is like, I still don't know where to start, I need the confidence to even go in the room. Reach out to Ashley or I. We're both on social media. I feel like it just takes a mustard seed of confidence. And sometimes that just means finding one friend that you feel like you totally resonates with you, totally gets you. And once you start on that path of growth, it kind of unfolds itself. Do you agree?
Yeah, it definitely does. It's just good people attract good people.
Yeah.
And it does. It does happen. It's kind of the snowball effect.
Yeah.
And when you make that one connection, well, that one connection probably has a couple more connections. And then you're still actively making more connections. And then before you know it, you've got so many connections that you've got to rein them in a little bit.
I know. Well, I'm just thinking about your circle because you are an amazing cheerleader. So I will just tell anybody listening, like a long time ago, I was in a social media challenge that Ashley did. And that's how I got to know her and her business a little more. But then I also got to know her friends and their businesses a little more because we all kind of supported each other. And so your circle's amazing. You're an amazing cheerleader. And then I have an amazing circle of coaches and women that want to do retreats. And I'm happy to introduce anybody to my friends. And it is true. Sometimes you just need one. And then this whole different environment you didn't even know is out there just waiting for you.
Yep. It
Yeah.
it is. It is. There's a big world, right? But
Yes.
for those of us who are go-getters and making things happen and having those conversations, it's crazy how small the world actually is. Because being here in Gilbert, Arizona, I have met so many other women who are from the Portland metro area. People that lived in Wilsonville and I was living in Sherwood, people who were in Lake Oswego and work with the same client that I work with. It's kind of crazy how that works.
Yeah.
So just yeah, just trust yourself and have fun. Having fun is a core value.
Yeah.
So if you're not having fun with it, or if it's something where it's just really hard, maybe we've got to switch it up. Maybe that's where you come to a coach, right? Like Jenn, and you say, hey, I'm really experiencing this. What do you think is the missing link here? Because sometimes we do need that outside perspective from people that we trust that can
Mhm.
say, you know what, I think I might recommend doing this, try this, and see what happens. And then report back to me and tell me how it went. You
Yeah.
know?
And sometimes I kind of think about coaching as like when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it's almost that safe cocoon. Um, like that's kind of the space that I like to have people just. There is a transformation sometimes. Either you need to grow in a skill, you need to do things differently, you need to mix things up. So you need to kind of put yourself into this little cocoon and then have the cheerleader there saying, okay, let's go here, let's go there, try this, try that. And while you become that next level of yourself, whatever that looks like for you. So I do totally, I love everything that you're saying. It's so good because I felt like, if we were having this conversation 2 years ago, I'd be like, tell me where to start. I don't know. And then you kind of have to like learn the hard way. So hopefully we can save people a little time by giving them some of these tips and tricks. And with social media, it can be a very personal thing. Like I've met so many really, really good friends now, and it was started through social media. But
Yeah,
you have to be intentional because you have to be active in the social media and reaching out to people and trying to make those connections. You can't just be a scroller, looking at the people's lives. You have to try to get in proximity with them and figure out what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
definitely. Yeah, it does. It works both ways. It's something where you do need to be intentional about it and consistent
yeah,
and and not give up. And then the one thing I wanted just to add, so we didn't really talk too much about it, but that personal growth side of things, which I know you are a huge proponent of reading. I know you are part of John Maxwell's leadership program.
yeah,
That is something that I would say really elevated the way that I communicate and the way that I do make connections. Is I, over the last decade, have read so many personal development books, a lot of the OG stuff, like How to Win Friends and Influence People.
yeah,
Everybody who is in any sort of communication role with the work that they do, it's it's very old school, but it is so there's so many foundational principles in books like that that help you grow yourself. Because the more you grow yourself, the more of an impact you can make, the better communicator you are, the more empathy you have for people, and just self-awareness, right?
yeah,
Sometimes you meet those people that have zero self-awareness, and that's the missing link for why they aren't making connections, right? Because
Yeah.
they haven't looked at themselves.
Especially if you want to change or yeah. So I want to talk about you and your business. So you help people build visibility and connection online. How can women use social media as a bridge to real connection rather than a place that leaves them feeling more disconnected or unseen?
That's the world that I live in. We
I
live in
know.
the world of social media, and that's people come to us who really are just busy business owners, but just don't have the capacity to show up consistently on brand. And they are ready to delegate. They are ready to pass it on to a professional, to an expert that can show up for them, but still have it feel like it's coming from them. So that's something that we're really keen on is really getting to know the business and the business owner and their goals and who they're serving so that we can create imagery and copy where it will attract those right people. So I think that for anybody that's really wanting to elevate and grow and build those real connections through social is I would just get really clear on who you're serving. So who is your person? If you want if somebody was going to be scrolling on Instagram, who do you want to find your page and go, "Oh my gosh, this person is solving my problem. I need to work with her." So who is that person? What do they do? What makes them tick? What are they get inside their head, right? And so then you want to create images, copy, you want to create content that will speak to that person and solve their problem. And maybe it's not solving their problem all the time, but maybe it's giving them words of wisdom. Maybe it's giving them encouragement. Maybe it's sharing an idea that might help them solve that problem on their own maybe, but maybe they can't do it on their own and then they do need to reach out. So it's getting very clear on who you're serving and how you're serving them. And then mixing in some real life stuff along the way. Because if it's just stale, perfectly curated posts and content, well, that's fine. And sometimes that's what you have time for and that's just what it is. But don't be afraid to mix in that unpolished, that, oh my gosh, I have this really profound thought and I need to share it. Don't overthink it.
I need
So
to
I
get
think,
better at that kind of stuff.
yeah. And I find that when I love to do a long morning sunshine walk, it just fuels me so much.
Mhm.
And recently I've been doing them without any sort of podcast. I'm just out in the sunshine, listening to all the sounds. I don't have my AirPods in. And I find that during that time is when I get a lot of just really great ideas. And I don't hold on to them. I will share them. I will put them out into the world. Sometimes they'll fall flat. Sometimes they'll do very well. And I think having that mix of really strategic, thoughtful, curated content is important because it builds your brand. But then mixing in those life kind of ahas is where you kind of get that sweet spot. And that's where we've grown. We doubled our business in 2025. We have huge goals for 2026. And the main reason is that we have been consistent with our marketing strategy and we have found those right people to connect with, to serve, to build relationship with. And we love it. I love, love, love the work that we do. I'm so grateful that we get to help business owners show up consistently with confidence, with social, and it's a total blast. And I'm grateful for this, the trust, because there's a trust mechanism to it. You know, your brand is so personal. The work we do is very intimate because you're putting your creativity out in the world and you're hoping people will get it. Will go, oh, this is cool. I want to be a part of that. Or, oh, this person's cool. I want to work with them. Or, oh man, this person could definitely help me. You know, so it becomes an intimate thing and we don't take it lightly. We're not just, you know, willy-nilly. I probably care too much. It's just my nature. Like I really care deeply. And I think probably most of our clients probably think that they're our only client because I'm so involved and I communicate so much, but they're not. I mean, we have, we've got quite a bit of a client load right now, but I do like, I want them to feel like we care and that we just want to see them win.
Yeah.
So that's just my heart.
Well, I can tell you love it because of your energy on your social media. I can tell that you love it and you curate the most amazing experiences. It it
Thank
just yeah,
you.
it looks like something that, a personal brand would really want to be a part of. So I would just tell
Thank
everybody
you.
to go check it out. And congratulations on your success because that's amazing. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's 2025 was a really great year. We learned so much. We moved, right? So just that transition. But again, it all comes from having those right people. The right people make all the difference. And showing up, even when it's hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've had to have really hard conversations, but that's just growth. You know, if you're just living in comfort all the time, probably aren't going to grow. So I just know like when things are getting uncomfortable, I'm like, okay, we're about ready to grow. Things are about ready to pop off.
I know
So
that's
get
a famous
ready.
Maxwell quote right there.
Yep.
There's no comfort in the growth zone, and there's no growth in the comfort zone. So,
Yes, that is so true. Yeah, yeah, I can feel it at the beginning of 2026. There are things happening. So I'm just
that's
preparing my mind, my health, my well-being so that I can just show up as best as I can because that's what we have control over, right? We have control over ourselves, our the way that we respond, the way that we carry ourselves, the way that we conduct our business. We have control over that. I made a post today. I was like, you set the standard, right? You have control over your standards and what
yeah,
you will allow into your life. And that's something that I'm just going to keep taking with me as like, okay, I set the standard. I set the standard.
yeah.
It's up to me.
Yeah. And like I think you mentioned it sometime in this talk, is to be focused on the things you do want, not focused on what you don't want. Because I feel like a
Right.
lot of people are like, if you ask them, like, what do you want? They're like, well, I don't know. I don't want this. I don't want that. It came up twice yesterday, this conversation. And then you touched on it today. So it was like three times. So I don't know. Maybe that's one of those beep, beep, pay attention here or something. Because yeah, if you pay attention to what you do want, your brain can get programmed to look for those things and to see the opportunities and see them as a positive.
Definitely. That decisiveness. We have to, as business owners, as women who want to create an incredible life, we have to be decisive in where we're going in the decisions that we're making, and we have to take action. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's in those inaction moments or those lulls where you start questioning that will drive you crazy. So taking action will cure, even if it's most of the time it's imperfect action. It's okay, let's do this and figure it out. Figure it
Yeah.
out as we go. But if everything has to be in line perfectly before you take any action, well, you're going to be stuck in that rut for a while. And it's hard to get out. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the uncomfortable part of it. It's the fear of the unknown. Well, what if? What are they going to think? What if this doesn't work out? What if? What if? What if? Well,
Yeah.
what if it does work out? What if things are better than you expect? What if because that didn't work out, now you have this amazing opportunity in front of you? So much of it is how we think. And I believe that all things are working together for good for those that are called according to his purpose, right? I'm probably botching that a little bit, but I
No.
really do believe that all things are working together for good even when we have hard days, right? We
Yeah.
all have hard days and they suck. It's just having a hard day is no fun. Sometimes but we have to feel it, go to bed, wake up the next morning, and just keep moving
Yeah.
forward. But that
Yeah.
decisiveness and that action will get you where you want to go. It's just a matter of time, time and effort.
Yeah. And then I feel like sometimes you got to put the blinders on. Don't look to your left or your right. Just to have confidence in what you're doing, and don't compare yourself, because I know that's another thing that women often do. And so to stay out of that, because that'll spin you into a whole other realm of inaction.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it's you versus you every
Yep.
day.
Yep. Exactly. I love it. That's a great way to end it. I love it. It's you versus
Yes.
you. I appreciate your time so much, Ashley. And just, yeah, keep being the light. I feel like, everybody needs a little more Ashley, because you are just so positive. So I would definitely tell every woman out there, whether you're building a business or not, follow Ashley. And and thank you for listening today.
Thank you, Jen, so much for the opportunity. Thanks for being a really great question asker and communicator and conversationalist. This conversation was so much fun. So just thank you for asking. Thank you for dropping into my DMs. I want to feel like a warm hug. That's what I
I know.
want.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.